You feel busy all day. Emails, messages, meetings, they blur together like rain streaking across a windshield. But when the storm quiets and the day ends, a quiet question whispers in your mind. What did I actually create today? Because deep down, you know being busy isn't the same as being productive. You scroll, click, reply, and jump from one tab to another, yet the work that truly matters, the kind that moves your career, builds your legacy, or changes your life, remains untouched. You are trapped in motion, not progress. Modern life isn't built for focus. It's engineered against it. Think about it, every app on your phone, every notification, every vibration in your pocket, it's designed with military-grade precision to hijack your attention. Your brain, once a spotlight, is now a disco ball spinning in every direction, reflecting everyone else's priorities but your own. You check your phone while working, respond to an email mid-task, switch to a message, open a tab, get distracted, and just like that, your train of thought derails. You try to return to your work, but the spark is gone. The idea that felt alive a moment ago now feels distant. What happened? You experienced what psychologists call attention residue, the invisible cost of switching focus. Every time you shift from one task to another, a piece of your attention stays stuck on the previous one. You never give your full self to anything. And this, right here, is how most people spend their lives. Half focused. Half present. Half alive. We live in the crisis of concentration, an era where your attention is the most valuable currency, yet you give it away freely to the highest bidder. This constant fragmentation forces you into a shallow state, a place where you're always working, but rarely achieving anything of true depth or value. You complete tasks that look productive on paper, answering emails, updating spreadsheets, attending meetings, but none of it moves the needle. This is what Cal Newport calls shallow work, low value, easily replicable, cognitively light activities that make you look busy but leave you empty. And here's the brutal truth: if all you do is shallow work, you're replaceable. A machine, a cheaper employee, or even an algorithm can do it better. The world doesn't reward motion. It rewards results, and results are born from depth. To thrive in the 21st century, you must do what most people have forgotten how to do: work without distraction, with full, unbroken focus, for long stretches of time. That is deep work, the art of pushing your cognitive limits, of entering a mental state so pure that the world outside ceases to exist. In this state, ideas connect effortlessly, time disappears, and you produce results that few others can match. Think of the great minds who shaped history: Newton isolating himself for months to decipher the laws of gravity. J.K. Rowling locking herself in a hotel room to finish Harry Potter. Steve Jobs walking barefoot across his office, obsessing over the curve of a product. They weren't working more hours. They were working deeper. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If you cannot learn to focus deeply, your potential will forever remain half-lived. The problem isn't time management. You already have the same 24 hours as every successful person you admire. The difference is focus management. How much of your time is truly yours? You think you're in control, but count how many times today your attention was stolen. How many times you reflexively checked your phone? How many times you told yourself, just for a second, and never came back? Each small distraction is a cut, tiny, almost invisible, but together, they bleed away your life's most valuable resource, your capacity for depth. We have become addicted to the shallow, addicted to constant stimulation, to scrolling, to the false satisfaction of digital noise. We mistake the feeling of being busy for the reality of doing meaningful work. But here's what they don't tell you: your ability to focus isn't dead. It's just weak, untrained, underused, forgotten. Like a muscle that's been idle for too long, it's waiting to be rebuilt. And it can be rebuilt. Imagine what could happen if, for just 2 hours a day, you entered a state of total concentration, no distractions, no phone, no mental noise. What could you produce? What would your life look like if your attention became unbreakable? In an age where everyone is distracted, the person who can truly focus will stand out like a lighthouse in a storm. This is not about working harder, it's about working deeper. Because when you focus deeply, time bends. You achieve in hours what others can't in days. You access creativity and insight that surface only when the mind is fully immersed. The modern world has declared war on your focus. Every notification, every algorithm, every piece of content competes to claim your mind. But here's the good news, you can reclaim it. And the weapon you'll use to fight back, the skill that will define your success in the modern era, is deep work. This isn't just a productivity strategy. It's a philosophy. A discipline. A declaration that you will no longer be controlled by noise. Because if you can master deep work, you'll no longer chase success, you'll create it. So as we move forward, understand this. Your attention is your life. What you choose to focus on determines who you become. The world rewards those who go deep. And now, it's your turn to learn how. The deep work equation. Let's strip productivity down to its core, not the apps, not the routines, not the endless to-do lists, but the physics behind it. If your focus intensity is near zero, if you're constantly distracted, checking your phone every 5 minutes, switching tabs, responding to emails mid-thought, then multiplying it by any number of hours still equals zero. You can't outwork distraction. You can only outfocus it. The difference between average and elite isn't time, it's depth. Let's make this real. Imagine two people, both spend 8 hours at their desks. The first spends the day bouncing between messages, meetings, and quick checks on social media. Their attention fragments 100 times. At the end of the day, they've worked, but produced nothing meaningful. The second person silences their phone, closes the door, and dives into a single task for 4 uninterrupted hours. They enter the zone, that deep, immersive state where the world fades and only the work exists. 4 hours versus 8. But who produced more? Every researcher in cognitive psychology would tell you the same: focus is a force multiplier. When intensity doubles, output doesn't just double, it explodes. You can feel this when it happens. Your heartbeat slows. Your mind sharpens. Ideas start connecting like lightning. This is deep work, a state where your cognitive energy is fully concentrated, and every neuron in your brain aligns toward a single goal. It's not about pushing harder, it's about removing resistance. The resistance is noise. The emails, the notifications, the scrolling, they don't just steal time. They scatter your attention into pieces so small, your mind can't build anything lasting from them. Think of your attention as sunlight. Unfocused, it's warm, pleasant, but weak. Focused through a lens, it burns through steel. The ability to hold that focus, to sustain that burning point, is what separates the amateurs from the masters. Now, let's go deeper. Focus itself isn't something you simply have or don't have. It's a skill, a trainable ability, much like strength or endurance. And like any skill, it grows only through deliberate practice. When you train for deep work, you're essentially rewiring your brain. You're teaching it that not every impulse deserves attention. That boredom is not a problem to be solved, but a muscle to be strengthened. Most people never do this. They live in reaction, responding to every ping, every buzz, every demand until their brains become addicted to interruption. They lose the capacity for stillness. But the elite few, the ones who produce at levels that seem almost superhuman, have built their lives around protecting this capacity. Cal Newport calls them deep workers. They design their days to minimize context switching, to preserve mental energy for the few things that matter most. Because they understand this truth. Every time you switch tasks, you pay a cognitive tax. You might think it's harmless answering a quick text in between writing paragraphs, but each switch drains a portion of your working memory. It takes up to 20 minutes to fully return to your previous level of focus. 20 minutes. Now multiply that by every distraction you experience in a day. That's your potential scattered, diluted, gone. So when people say, "I don't have time," what they really mean is, "I don't have focus." Time is constant. Focus is rare. That's why deep work is the new superpower in a world drowning in shallow distraction. The market doesn't reward how available you are. It rewards how valuable you are, and value only comes from quality, depth, and intensity. When you operate in a state of deep work, your brain doesn't just function better, it evolves. Neural circuits strengthen. Connections deepen. Creativity flourishes. Scientists call this myelination, the process where your brain wraps neural pathways in protective layers of fat, allowing signals to travel faster and more efficiently. Every hour spent in deep focus literally reshapes your brain for mastery. That's why the more you practice deep work, the easier it becomes to enter that state again. You're not just working, you're training your mind to think better. But here's where most people fail: they don't create the conditions for intensity. You can't expect focus to happen naturally in an environment built for distraction. If your phone is buzzing, your inbox open, your browser full of tabs, you've already lost the battle. You must engineer your surroundings for single task depth. You must choose intensity. This might mean turning off your internet during critical work blocks. It might mean isolating yourself in a quiet space. It might even mean being less responsive, something modern culture will guilt you for, but excellence demands. Remember this? Focus feels uncomfortable at first. It's supposed to. The first few minutes of silence feel strange. The mind itches for stimulation. But if you can resist the urge to escape, something magical happens. Your brain settles. The noise fades. And you cross a threshold, a point where work transforms into flow. In that flow state, time distorts. Hours pass like minutes. Ideas come not as effort, but as instinct. You stop forcing creativity, it begins to happen through you. This is the true reward of deep work. Not just productivity, but presence. A moment when your mind, your purpose, and your work all align perfectly. And that's why this equation, simple as it seems, holds the key to mastering not just your career, but your mind. You can work 10 hours and stay mediocre. Or you can work 2 hours with complete intensity and transform your life. It's not about working longer. It's about working deeper. So as we move into the next chapter, remember this. You don't need more time. You need more focus per minute. Because in a distracted world, focus is not just a skill. It's the ultimate advantage. Law 1: schedule deep work. Here's a hard truth. If you don't plan your time, someone else will. Every day, the world is fighting for your attention: emails, meetings, notifications, endless noise. And if you don't guard your time with ruthless precision, it will be stolen piece by piece until nothing meaningful remains. That's why the first law of deep work is simple but non-negotiable. You must schedule it. Not fit it in. Not do it when you have time. Schedule it like your life depends on it. Because it does. Think of your time as sacred ground. Every block of hours you possess is a limited, non-renewable resource, more valuable than money, more irreplaceable than talent. The world wants to rent your time cheaply. Deep work demands that you own it completely. Let's face it, we've been taught to treat our calendars like cluttered battlefields. Meetings bleed into each other. Calls get dropped in last minute. Every hour is open for just one more thing. But every open slot is a potential ambush. So here's the shift. You must treat deep work time as if it were a meeting with your most important client, your future self. You wouldn't cancel a client meeting for a quick email. You wouldn't show up late because of a YouTube video. You'd show respect, commitment, preparation. That's exactly how you must treat your deep work sessions. Because in those hours, you're not just working, you're sculpting the future version of you. When Cal Newport studied the most productive minds on Earth, from CEOs to computer scientists, he found one pattern repeated across them all. They didn't wait for inspiration. They scheduled intensity. They built fences around their focus. He called these fences deep work philosophies, and they come in 4 distinct forms, each suited to a different kind of life, but all serving the same purpose: protecting the hours that matter most. Let's explore them. The monastic philosophy, total isolation. This is the fortress method. You remove yourself entirely from distraction, retreating into solitude for days, weeks, or even months to work on a single project. Think of writers like J.K. Rowling, who locked herself in a hotel room to finish Harry Potter, or scientists like Isaac Newton, who spent years in isolation decoding the laws of the universe. They didn't dabble in focus, they disappeared into it. This approach isn't for everyone. But it teaches a powerful truth: when the noise fades, genius awakens. The bimodal philosophy, split worlds. This is the rhythm of creators who balance 2 lives, one for deep work, one for everything else. Carl Jung built a stone tower in the Swiss countryside where he would retreat for months of uninterrupted thinking, then return to the city to lecture, meet colleagues, and live among people. In one mode, he worked deeply. In the other, he lived freely. This method is perfect for those who can't abandon the modern world entirely but refuse to let it consume them. You divide your year, your month, or even your week into deep and shallow modes, and when it's deep work time, nothing interrupts it. The rhythmic philosophy, daily routine. This is the approach for most professionals, building deep work into your daily rhythm until it becomes as natural as brushing your teeth. You block the same hours every day, perhaps 8 to 10 a.m., before the noise begins, and treat it as sacred. You don't debate whether to do it. You simply do it. Like a pianist practicing scales, this rhythm creates momentum. The consistency turns focus into habit. After a few weeks, your mind begins to anticipate that block of silence, slipping more easily into deep states. This is the power of rhythm. Predictability turns effort into instinct. The journalistic philosophy, seizing the moment. Named after journalists who must write in short, unpredictable bursts between assignments, this philosophy is about adaptability. Whenever a window opens, a free afternoon, an empty morning, you drop everything and dive into deep work immediately. It's not for beginners, because it demands instant immersion and mental discipline. But for those who've trained their focus muscle, it's a way to seize fleeting opportunities for greatness. No matter which philosophy you choose, the principle remains the same. Deep work must live on your calendar, or it won't live at all. If it isn't scheduled, it's optional. And anything optional in your life will be devoured by the urgent, the shallow, and the meaningless. So open your calendar. Look at your week. Now, choose one block, even just 1 hour, and mark it deep work. Then protect it like your life depends on it. Because it does. When that hour arrives, the world will tempt you. Your phone will buzz. Emails will whisper. People will ask for just a minute. But remember, every time you say yes to them, you are saying no to yourself. And there is no greater betrayal than that. To make this real, here's a simple but powerful ritual. Step 1. Pick your deep work blocks for the week in advance. Step 2. Write them down visibly. Treat them as appointments. Step 3. Communicate them to others if needed. Let people know when you're unavailable. Step 4. When the time comes, shut the door, silence the world, and begin. Over time, something amazing will happen. Your mind will begin to respect these hours. It will learn to enter deep focus faster. Distraction will lose its grip. You'll feel it, that rare, quiet hum of total engagement, the feeling that you're exactly where you're supposed to be, doing exactly what you're meant to do. This is what it means to live deliberately, to stop drifting and start directing. One final warning: the shallow will always try to reclaim your schedule. Emails, meetings, quick tasks, they breed like weeds. They will fill every inch of open time unless you actively pull them out. That's why deep work hours must be guarded, even violently. Because nobody else will do it for you. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the strength of your schedule. So build a fortress around your focus, a wall of time, discipline, and respect for your own potential. In the war for your attention, this is your first act of rebellion, to take your time back. Law 2: Embrace boredom. Here's the paradox of the modern mind. We crave focus, but we're terrified of silence. The moment things slow down, the second the stimulation fades, we reach for escape. We unlock our phones. We scroll. We swipe. We fill the empty space. We tell ourselves it's harmless, just a quick check, just a little distraction. But in truth, every time you give in to that impulse, you are training your brain to flee. To run from discomfort. To reject stillness. And that is why most people can't focus for more than a few minutes at a time. We've built an attention span made of glass. Cal Newport calls this the Pavlovian urge to seek distraction. Like Pavlov's dog salivating at the sound of a bell, we've conditioned our minds to crave stimulation at the smallest hint of boredom. Waiting in line? Open Instagram. Sitting in traffic? Check notifications. Between meetings? Watch a reel. You are not in control of your attention, your habits are. The great tragedy of this is not just wasted time, it's wasted potential. Because deep work, the kind of work that moves your life forward, exists on the other side of that boredom. And if you can't sit still in silence for 5 minutes, how can you expect to hold focus for 5 hours? Here's the brutal truth. You cannot train for focus while distracted. You must train for it in the silence between distractions. This is what it means to embrace boredom. When you feel that itch to check your phone, that sudden urge to escape, you don't. You sit there. You let the discomfort rise. You let your brain scream for novelty, and you do nothing. This is not weakness. This is reprogramming. Every time you resist, you are teaching your brain a new rule. I control my attention. At first, it feels impossible. Your thoughts race, your hands twitch, you feel restless. But after a few minutes, something strange happens, your mind begins to settle. You start noticing things you've forgotten how to notice. The hum of the air conditioner. The rhythm of your breath. The quiet clarity returning to your thoughts. This is what most people never reach, that second layer of consciousness that only appears when the noise fades. And that's where real creativity begins. Let's go deeper. Distraction is not just a habit, it's a physiological addiction. Every time you check your phone, your brain releases a hit of dopamine, the same chemical that drives gambling, social validation, and addiction. Your brain learns, boredom equals pain, distraction equals reward. So every time you're bored, it screams for relief. That's why when you try to focus, it feels unbearable at first, not because the work is hard, but because your brain is craving its next fix. But here's the secret: dopamine is trainable. If you can endure the initial discomfort, if you can sit through the boredom without giving in, your brain slowly resets its baseline. The noise quiets. The cravings fade. Focus becomes easier. You don't eliminate distraction by fighting it. You eliminate it by starving it. Let's look at an example. Imagine two people waiting for a bus. The first pulls out their phone immediately. The second simply stands there, no music, no scrolling, no escape. Who's training their mind? The second person is. Every minute of silence is a rep, like lifting mental weights. They're building the muscle of sustained attention. Because here's the truth, focus is not built during work. It's built between work. If you fill every gap in your day with stimulation, podcasts, social media, videos, your brain never practices being still. And when the time comes to do deep work, it collapses. But if you learn to embrace those empty moments, to let your mind wander naturally instead of artificially, you begin to access a different kind of thought, slow, connected, original. That's why some of the greatest ideas in history came not while working, but while walking, showering, or sitting in solitude. Einstein called these thought experiments. Newton called them lucid intervals. They are the rewards of a quiet mind. Here's how to practice this law in your own life, the boredom training protocol. Resist the reflex. Whenever you feel the urge to check your phone, don't. Pause. Feel the craving without reacting. This rewires the feedback loop that's enslaving your focus. Create intentional boredom. Schedule 10 to 15 minutes every day where you do absolutely nothing, no phone, no noise, no input. Just sit or walk. At first, your mind will fight. But soon, it will begin to open. Delay gratification. If you want to check your messages, make yourself wait 5 minutes. Then 10. Then 20. You're not forbidding distraction, you're retraining your impulse control. Each time you delay, your focus muscle strengthens. Meditate on stillness. Meditation is not about emptying your mind, it's about watching it. By observing your thoughts without reacting, you gain control over them. 10 minutes a day of quiet observation can undo years of compulsive reactivity. Understand this. Your brain's default state is not distraction. It's depth. But the world has buried the depth under layers of noise. To uncover it, you must go through silence. When you finally embrace boredom, when you stop fearing stillness and start inhabiting it, something extraordinary happens. Your focus stops feeling forced. It becomes natural. You start entering flow faster. You start feeling less anxious. You stop depending on stimulation to feel alive. You no longer need to escape your mind, you trust it again. That's when you unlock the true power of deep work, not just productivity, but peace. So the next time you feel restless, the next time your thumb twitches toward your phone, pause. That discomfort you feel? That's not boredom. That's the sound of your brain detoxing from distraction. Smile at it. Sit with it. Let it pass. Because on the other side of that silence is your most powerful, creative, and disciplined self. Focus is forged in the fire of boredom, and those who can endure it, rule it. Law 3: Quit social media. Imagine a battlefield that doesn't look like a battlefield. No blood. No guns. Just screens glowing in the dark, millions of them. Each one capturing a fragment of human attention. You open your phone, thinking you're in control. But in reality, the war has already begun. And you're not the general, you're the soldier. Worse, you're the product. Because every notification, every like, every scroll, is part of an invisible war for your mind. Social media was built to connect us, but engineered to control us. It's not a communication tool, it's an attention marketplace. You don't pay with money, you pay with minutes, focus, and mental energy. Every design element, from the infinite scroll to the red notification bubble, was carefully crafted to exploit your psychology. It's not accidental. It's strategic. Neuroscientists call it intermittent variable rewards, the same mechanism used in slot machines. You never know what's coming next, a like, a comment, a message, so you keep refreshing, chasing that next hit of dopamine. The result? You've become hooked not on content, but on anticipation. And in that addiction, your mind is quietly bleeding. But here's the deeper danger. Social media doesn't just steal your time, it rewires your perception of reality. You start to measure your worth by digital validation. You compare your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reels. You begin to chase visibility instead of mastery. And worst of all, it fractures your focus into 1,000 tiny fragments. How can you do deep, meaningful work when your brain is trained to jump every few seconds? You can't. You've been programmed to react, not create. That's why Cal Newport introduces the tool test, a radical way to reclaim your mind. The tool test. Ask one powerful question before using any digital tool, app, or platform. Does this tool serve a specific, valuable purpose in my life, or am I serving it? That's the test. Simple. Ruthless. Life-changing. If a platform genuinely enhances your professional or personal goals, keep it, but use it with precision. If not, cut it. Cold. Because you can't go deep if you're always connected. You can't create something extraordinary if you're addicted to the ordinary noise of the feed. Let's make this real. Think of every tool in your life as a blade. In the hands of a craftsman, a blade creates art. In the hands of the careless, it causes harm. Social media is the same. It can amplify your voice or drown it. It can spread your ideas or scatter your focus. The difference lies in control. You must decide whether you're wielding the tool or whether it's wielding you. Containing the chaos. Let's be real, you can't eliminate shallow work completely. It's part of life. Emails must be sent. Meetings must happen. But you can contain it like a controlled fire. Schedule specific blocks for shallow tasks. For example, 30 minutes at 11 a.m. for email, 20 minutes at 4 p.m. for admin or Slack. Outside those windows, the gates are closed. If a message comes in, it waits. If a meeting request isn't essential, decline it or move it to a shallow block. This is not arrogance, it's discipline. It's how professionals protect their focus. Because every quick check you allow burns a hole in your attention. One study found it takes 23 minutes on average to regain full focus after a single interruption. Now multiply that by 20 notifications a day. That's your life, scattered in fragments. Saying no, the hidden skill. Draining the shallows also means learning to say no gracefully, but firmly. No to meetings without purpose. No to just 5-minute favors. No to tasks that look busy but mean nothing. Every yes to the shallow is a no to the deep. Great creators are not people who say yes to everything, they are the ones who protect their sacred time like warriors. Steve Jobs once said, "Innovation is saying no to 1,000 things." He wasn't exaggerating. He was describing a survival mechanism for focus. Your time is your most valuable asset. Guard it like treasure. The reward of depth. When you begin to drain the shallows, something incredible happens. You feel space again. Your mind breathes. Instead of being pulled in 1,000 directions, you move with intention. Instead of reacting, you create. The fatigue of endless multitasking begins to fade. Your energy stabilizes. You begin to feel a deep sense of satisfaction at the end of the day, not because you did 100 things, but because you did a few things brilliantly. And that's the hidden truth. Productivity isn't about doing more. It's about doing what truly matters with total focus. The deep work lifestyle. Draining the shallows is not just a tactic, it's a philosophy. It's a declaration that your attention is finite and precious. It's choosing depth over noise, substance over speed, mastery over mediocrity. When you design your day like an artist, with deliberate focus and clear boundaries, you transform from a reactor into a creator. And creation, not reaction, is what builds legacies. The world doesn't remember those who stayed busy. It remembers those who built something timeless. The ritual of deep work, building your mental fortress. Before every warrior enters battle, there is ritual. Before every athlete steps into the arena, there is preparation. Before every artist creates their masterpiece, there is rhythm, a pattern, a sequence, a state of readiness. Deep work is no different. It's not something you stumble into. It's something you build your way into through deliberate ritual. The gateway to focus. The human brain loves routine. It thrives on predictability, not chaos. That's why the world's greatest minds create rituals of entry, small, consistent actions that signal to the brain. It's time to go deep. Think of them as keys that unlock the doors of concentration. Without these rituals, every deep work session begins with friction. You sit down, open your laptop, and feel the resistance, that heavy fog of indecision. Where do I start? What should I do first? Should I check messages? Maybe I'll just organize my desk first. That hesitation is what kills momentum. The ritual eliminates it. Step 1. Location, the sacred space. Where you work shapes how you work. Cal Newport says your ritual begins with your location, a space that tells your brain, here, we focus deeply. For some, it's a quiet office. For others, a library, a cafe corner, or a single chair by a window. The key is consistency. The same place, every time, until your mind associates that environment with focus, like a Pavlovian cue for productivity. Over time, the moment you enter that space, your body settles, your breathing slows, and your brain knows, now, we work. Protect that space. No distractions. No clutter. No half-open tabs. It's not just a desk, it's your mental fortress. Step 2. Time, the sacred hour. The next part of the ritual is time. Choose your deep work hours and defend them like sacred territory. Not when I have time, but this exact time, every day. Maybe it's 7 a.m. before the world wakes up. Maybe it's 10 p.m., when the noise dies down. The time itself doesn't matter, what matters is consistency. When your brain knows exactly when focus begins, it starts preparing automatically. You no longer wait for motivation. You arrive ready. Because deep work doesn't need inspiration, it needs rhythm. Step 3. The metric, defining victory. Every deep work session must have a clear, measurable goal. Never sit down with vague intentions like make progress or work on this project. Your brain doesn't understand vague. Instead, define the output. Write the first draft of Section 2. Solve 10 design problems. Edit 15 minutes of footage. Your ritual should end with a tangible victory, something you can see, measure, or count. Why? Because visible progress fuels motivation. It's proof that your focus created value. And over time, that loop of effort output reward becomes addictive in the best way. Step 4. The rules, the lines you don't cross. Every ritual needs rules, boundaries that protect the sanctity of your focus. This means no internet.no, phone.no, email.no, notifications.no, multitasking. Silence them all. These aren't just productivity hacks, they're psychological signals. Every ping, every open tab, every vibration breaks the illusion of immersion. You're trying to build flow, a fragile state that collapses under distraction. Think of focus like a flame. Every interruption is a gust of wind. Your ritual's rules are the glass around the flame, protecting it, keeping it alive until the work is done. Step 5. The transition ritual, entering the zone. Many creators and thinkers have a transition ritual, a short, symbolic action that separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. For novelist Haruki Murakami, it's a morning run before writing. For Maya Angelou, it was renting a hotel room just for work, away from her home. For Carl Jung, it was walking alone in the woods before he began his psychological explorations. These are not random habits, they're anchors of focus. Find yours. Maybe it's brewing a cup of coffee in silence. Maybe it's 5 minutes of journaling, or setting a timer, or listening to the same instrumental track before you begin. Whatever it is, let it become sacred. Something that says to your mind, the noise of the world ends here. Creation begins now. Step 6. The exit ritual, closing the loop. Deep work is a high-performance state. You can't live there all day. That's why a closing ritual is just as important as the entry. When your session ends, shut everything down. Close your laptop. Step away. Reflect for 60 seconds. What did I accomplish? What will I tackle next time? That act of closure gives your mind permission to rest. Without it, your brain stays half-connected, replaying unfinished tasks, what psychologists call the Zeigarnik effect. The exit ritual breaks that loop. It restores peace, deep focus, clean ending, real recovery. The power of repetition. Here's the magic: when you repeat this ritual daily, it becomes automatic. Your mind learns the cues. Your body responds instinctively. You no longer try to focus, you enter focus. It's the same principle that makes athletes perform under pressure or musicians slip effortlessly into flow. The ritual is your switch from chaos to clarity. And when that happens, something profound occurs. The outside world fades. Your sense of time dissolves. And all that remains is the work, alive, breathing, evolving in front of you. That's deep work. Not forced. Not stressful. Just pure, undistracted creation. The mind of a monk, the precision of a scientist. Think of your ritual as the fusion of two worlds. The discipline of a monk and the precision of a scientist. The monk creates sacred space, silence, simplicity, devotion. The scientist creates structure, hypotheses, metrics, and process. Together, they produce magic, sustained, measurable genius. When your day begins with this level of clarity, your output doesn't just improve, it transforms. You stop chasing productivity hacks and start building mastery. The transformation. At first, your ritual will feel forced, mechanical, maybe even unnecessary. But give it time. Because what you're really doing isn't building a routine, you're rewiring your identity. You're becoming the kind of person who can summon focus at will. Who can sit down and go deep, regardless of mood or motivation. Who doesn't depend on noise, chaos, or pressure to perform. That's the rarest skill in the modern world. When you have that, when you can enter flow on command, you become unstoppable. The Goldilocks zone, focus endurance. There's a moment in every deep work session where your mind begins to fight back. You feel it as a subtle restlessness, a twitch, a thought, a whisper saying, check your phone. Open a new tab. Get a snack. Do something else. It's not laziness. It's your brain rebelling against strain. That moment, the edge between boredom and burnout, is where greatness begins. It's where the Goldilocks zone lives. The edge of ability. The Goldilocks zone is the sweet spot between too easy and too hard, where the challenge perfectly matches your skill. When your work is too easy, you get bored. When it's too hard, you get anxious. But when it's just right, difficult enough to demand your full attention, but achievable with effort, something powerful happens. You enter flow. Psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi described flow as the state where action and awareness merge, where time dissolves, and where work feels both effortless and electric. You've felt it before, those rare hours where everything clicks, distractions vanish, and you lose yourself completely in creation. That's not luck. It's skill, and you can train it. But the entry fee to flow is discomfort. To enter the Goldilocks zone, you must first step into mental friction. The muscle of focus. Think of your focus like a muscle. If you only lift what's light, you stay weak. If you push too hard, you break. Growth lives between the two, in tension. That's what deep work demands, sustained cognitive tension. Every time you resist distraction and stay with the task a little longer, you strengthen your attention span. Every time you push through boredom instead of escaping it, you train endurance. Every time you hold focus when your mind screams for novelty, you expand your capacity for depth. It's like meditation in motion. The work itself becomes your practice of mindfulness. Because deep work isn't just about productivity, it's about training your brain to do hard things for longer than it wants to. The resistance phase. When you start focusing deeply, the first 20 minutes are war. Your mind jumps between thoughts like a monkey leaping from branch to branch. It feels impossible to stay still. That's the resistance phase, and it's perfectly normal. Your brain, addicted to instant novelty, is detoxing. It's fighting to pull you back into the shallow world, the land of notifications and micro-rewards. But if you hold steady, if you breathe through that discomfort, something begins to shift. Around the 25 to 30 minute mark, the noise starts to fade. You feel your thoughts slow down. You stop scanning for distractions. You start seeing patterns, connections, clarity, insight. That's the door opening to flow. And once you step through it, your productivity skyrockets. Flow, the deep stat. In flow, you're not trying anymore, you are. Writers describe it as words pouring out effortlessly. Programmers describe it as code writing itself. Musicians describe it as being played by the music rather than playing it. The self vanishes. Time bends. Only the task remains. That's the Goldilocks zone, and it's addictive. Because in that state, you're no longer just working, you're becoming. Expanding the zone. But here's the thing, flow doesn't last forever. Your brain can only hold that intensity for so long before fatigue sets in. The goal isn't to stay in flow all day, it's to expand the time you can sustain it. And like any muscle, endurance grows through practice. Here's how you train it. 1. Start small, then stretch. If you can currently focus for 30 minutes, don't jump to 3 hours. Start with a 45-minute deep work block. Then 60. Then 90. Gradually extend the duration, like adding weight to a barbell. 2. Respect recovery. Deep work consumes immense mental energy. After every intense session, schedule deliberate rest, walks, journaling, silence, even boredom. That downtime is where your neural connections strengthen. 3. Eliminate hidden drains. Every little distraction outside of deep work, constant phone checks, background music with lyrics, random conversations eats at your mental stamina. Focus endurance isn't just built in the work itself, it's built in your entire lifestyle. 4. Push the boundary. Once in a while, go further than feels comfortable. Stay with the task for 5 more minutes after your mind starts begging to quit. That small act is where the growth happens. Because mastery isn't forged in comfort, it's forged at the edges of fatigue. The myth of balance. People often talk about work-life balance as if the goal is to stay comfortable. But balance doesn't create greatness, challenge does. The mind needs stress to grow, just like muscles need tension. Deep work gives you that deliberate, meaningful strain. So don't fear the discomfort. When your brain starts to ache, when the fatigue sets in, when your attention trembles, smile. That's the sound of growth. The discipline of recovery. But growth only sticks if you recover properly. Elite athletes don't train 24/7. They push hard, then rest deliberately. The same applies to deep work. After every intense focus session, step away completely. No partial breaks, no half-checking your phone. Go for a walk. Sit in silence. Let your thoughts wander freely. Neuroscientists call this the diffuse mode of thinking, the brain's way of processing ideas in the background while you rest. That's often when breakthroughs happen, in the shower, on a walk, or staring at the sunset. Because creativity isn't born from endless effort, it's born from the rhythm between effort and rest. The flow threshold. Over time, something magical happens. The line between effort and ease begins to blur. You can enter focus faster. Stay there longer. And when distractions appear, you brush them off effortlessly, like waves breaking against rock. That's the mark of mastery. The Goldilocks zone becomes your default state. You no longer fear difficult work. You crave it. Because you've trained your mind to find meaning in challenge. You've become addicted to growth itself. And that's the secret most people never discover. True satisfaction doesn't come from relaxation, it comes from immersion. Not from escape, but from engagement. The unbreakable mind. When you live in the Goldilocks zone, your mind transforms. You no longer see focus as a struggle, it becomes identity. You begin to move through life differently, slower, sharper, deeper. You find joy not in constant stimulation, but in sustained creation. You stop chasing validation and start chasing mastery. That's what deep work truly builds, not just output, but an unbreakable mind. One capable of navigating the chaos of the modern world without losing its center. A mind that doesn't fear stillness, but thrives in it. A mind that can stand in silence and say, I am here. I am focused. I am free. The final edge, deep work is competitive advantage. Imagine two people starting at the same point. Both are talented. Both work hard. But one spends his days switching tasks, checking messages, reacting to noise. The other builds his day around deep work, carving out hours of undisturbed creation. At first, the difference is invisible. A week later, small progress. A month later, momentum. A year later, mastery. And by year 5, the gap isn't just wide, it's unbridgeable. That's the power of deep work. It compounds like interest, small daily focus building into massive, irreversible advantage. The new currency of the 21st century. In a world where everyone's attention is fragmented, focus is the new currency. It's rarer than talent, more valuable than intelligence, and harder to copy than any skill. AI will write code, design graphics, and answer questions, but it can't think deeply for you. The ability to concentrate on one hard problem, for long stretches, is the final human edge. Cal Newport called it the superpower of the 21st century. And he's right, because those who master focus will shape the world the rest merely scroll through. The cost of shallow living. Most people will never experience true depth again. They'll live in reaction, answering pings, chasing novelty, confusing motion with meaning. They'll measure progress in likes and views, not in mastery and impact. And when their days end, they'll wonder why it all felt busy, yet empty. Because distraction gives the illusion of productivity, but robs you of fulfillment. Deep work, on the other hand, gives fewer dopamine hits, but far deeper satisfaction. It's not about doing more, it's about doing what matters. Crafting a life of depth. To live a life of depth, you must build systems that protect your attention. Start each day with clarity, choose the one high-impact task that moves your life forward. Block time, even just 2 hours, where the world cannot reach you. Guard that window like sacred ground. Because that's where your legacy is built, in those quiet, undisturbed hours when nobody is watching. That's where books are written, businesses are born, and ideas change the world. And when you finish, step away. Rest fully. Reflect deeply. That balance between intensity and recovery, that rhythm, is the heartbeat of greatness. Becoming the rarest type of person. Most people are consumers of noise. A few are creators of clarity. Deep work makes you one of the few. When the world rushes toward the next distraction, you'll move slowly, deliberately, with purpose. You'll think longer, work deeper, and produce things that last. That's how you become irreplaceable. Not by being everywhere, but by mastering the rarest art left, presence. Because in a society built on distraction, attention is rebellion. And deep work is how you fight back. The quiet revolution. The future doesn't belong to the loud. It belongs to the focused. To those who can sit quietly in a room and create something meaningful from nothing. To those who understand that the greatest battles are fought not online, but in the mind, in the silent, invisible moments of deliberate work. So choose depth. Choose to turn off the noise. Choose to do one thing with everything you have. Because once you've tasted true focus, you'll never go back. You'll see how shallow everything else feels. And you'll realize the peace you were searching for was never in the scroll. It was always in the silence. If this message resonates, don't let it fade when the video ends. Take action today. Start tomorrow with 1 hour of pure, uninterrupted focus, turn off every notification, close every tab, pick one meaningful task, and go deep. You don't need motivation, you need a decision. Decide that your attention is sacred. Decide that your life will not be wasted on shallow noise. Decide to build something that outlives the scroll. Because deep work isn't just a productivity strategy, it's a way of life. A rebellion against distraction. A declaration that you will not drift, you will design. So go. Build your focus. Protect your depth. And remember, in a world where everyone's shouting for attention, the quiet ones changing the world are the ones too focused to notice. You don't rise by chasing more, you rise by going deeper. The future belongs to those who master their mind.